And now we continue yet again our sources about regarding Kiddush Hashem, Chil Hashem, to sanctify the name of God, to Chalila, to desecrate the name of God, the last thing we want to do in our course of being an honorable mensch. So I mentioned already one or two or three anecdotes. Now let me relate something which I personally was involved in, which goes back to when I was a young slip of a teen. My great desire was to be able to go learn the land of Israel. Of course, that's become very popular nowadays. Most people do it. Can't say most, but many people, when they finish high school, they take their year after high school and they spend a year of study in Israel. So in my day, it wasn't as accepted, and I very much wanted to go. However, we couldn't afford the ticket to go to Israel. Someone brought to my attention, a cousin of mine, that in in Greenwich Village, you could buy your tickets for a song. However, the rule was in those days that if you would buy a ticket something like 6 months in advance, the price was really, really very inexpensive. My problem is I don't know what I'm doing in 6 days, certainly not in 6 weeks, hardly in 6 months. So my cousin brought to my attention that there was this place in Greenwich Village, rather seedy institution, where I could get these tickets over the counter or under the counter, but the tickets could be acquired. I went down to Greenwich Village, those are familiar, especially the village in the 70s, and I'm telling you, there was so much, you could smell the drugs in the air. People going around in those days, they're going on their skateboards, and uptown, downtown. So finally I found this place, I go in there, and I have a receipt in one of my wallets somewhere that it cost me $223 to get from New York to Brussels, Belgium, and in those days an intra-European ticket was $100. That we could afford. In other words, to get from New York to Israel was $323. That's the whole cost. However, when I got the ticket, they told me that I must call this number to find out exactly when the plane is departing. So I called the airline, and they said that it's supposed to leave on Sunday, but they don't know for sure. I should call again. And this is not your typical airline where they call you, and you have to call them and ask them when the plane is leaving. I called again a day or two later, and they said that they're supposed to leave on Sunday, but probably they will not be leaving on Sunday, for they have not yet discovered where the plane is. I said, what do you mean? You've not yet discovered the plane is, so they can't find it. Can you imagine? It's not exactly a contact lens. They can't find the plane. Okay, but they're looking for it. They're looking and looking and looking. Called back on Sunday, they found it. It's in Vietnam, and it was what it was doing there was Operation Baby Lift, I think it was called. Operation Baby Lift. American soldiers had left back in Vietnam the GIs had left many children that were born out of wedlock, and America felt somewhat compelled to bring these children to America as they were a result of the indiscretion of American soldiers and have them be raised in America. So the plane, they said, was now in Vietnam, and surely it would be in San Diego Monday morning and depart from New York Monday night, but call again to be sure. No problem. I called again, and they said, no, it's not yet in San Diego. The plane will be leaving on Tuesday. Call again. I called again. It's not yet there. It'll be leaving on Wednesday. I called again, and I'm starting to get nervous. I don't mind the plane leaves on a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. However, we're flying into time. If it leaves on Friday, I'm stuck. And I lost all that $223. Call again. Yes, it's definitely leaving Thursday night, and I should be at a hotel in Manhattan, because it was a group flight, and we had to go as a group. I still remember. We were called the Midtown Singers. I'm a singer like I'm a ballerina dancer, and yet, that was the name of our group. We're to meet in this Midtown hotel, and then we go together to the airport as the Midtown Singers. The plot is definitely thickening. So I arrive at this, my father takes me to this hotel. Now, I must tell you background, that whole summer was a big summer for the Catholic Church had invested millions of dollars in what was called Key 73 to convert Jews to Catholicism. And when this was happening at every single street corner in Manhattan, I was really getting riled up. And I got a heter from Rav David Lifshitz, Zichron Livracha, to study the New Testament and an English course in CCNY, so I would know, Dam al-Hashiv, how to try and argue against people who were arguing on behalf of Jews converting to Christian religions. So we arrive at this hotel. My father looks inside. Oh my goodness. In those days, what was really into chic fashion was everything was tie-dyed. Tie-dyed t-shirts, tie-dyed dungarees, tie-dyed beards. Everything was tie-dyed. And these people, they were already high. They didn't have to go any higher. They were already in the air. And my father, it was just too much for him. He said, "You're on your own." And he left me gesundheit. So finally, the group, and also the big thing in luggage was beat up guitar cases. Everybody had a guitar. We go to the airport, and we're waiting for a flight. Now, what I was trying to do was, I was going to a rather prestigious yeshiva in Israel. I had not yet been accepted. The standard procedure was, in those days, to get into yeshiva, you'd come to yeshiva, they would give you a faher, they would give you an oral exam, and if you passed, you'd be admitted to the yeshiva. Now, I knew that they were going to test me on not what I had learned that summer, which was the New Testament, but they would test me in Gemara. And I was trying to do what could not be done, which was try and cram an entire summer's worth of learning into that flight over to Israel. But let me tell you, I was really studious. I wanted to get in this yeshiva in the worst way.